Hi everybody, my name is Jimmy and welcome back to Jimmy Does Knitting. This is my knitting podcast where we pick a topic and we go from there. You can find me as Jimmy Does Knitting on Ravelry, Instagram, YouTube, Discord, and Ko-Fi. My patterns are up for sale on Ravelry. Today's topic, I just am kind of going to give a wrap up of the end of the month. It's a little early for this. I think it's like mid-November, but life is going to be lifing. So I wanted to get something out. Also, pattern release, which is very exciting, just in time for Advent, and I hope that you enjoy it. So today will be more of like a regular podcast episode. I finished like everything in October, apart from one project, and then so I just cast on a bunch of new stuff. We have a lot of things to discuss, some designing to discuss, which I think is like a design update. I'm going to be honest with you, I try not to talk about the designs until I get them moving. The problem with me in designing is grading garments. I can write up a pattern, I can knit it, I can do that really quick, but the grading, I hate. I really hate because I do it like super old school because I have no idea how to use Excel. So it takes me a while to grade something and I don't enjoy the process. So that's usually what prevents me from grading and doing all that stuff. Let's get into the podcast with the design launch. So today should be December 1st, which means it's Advent season and my Spectrum Blip scarf is ready for release. So this is my scarf. I have it written as a cowl as well, or instructions for provisional cast on so you can knit as long as your yarn lasts for. The idea is to use as much of your yarn as possible, and I give you instructions to do that. This is a fingering weight sample. I did it in 10 different colors of Drops Baby Merino, but I also have instructions for DK, and then you can really figure it out for sport or worsted or whatever you want. But it's basically just color work knit in the round, and you can use low contrast, you can use high contrast, you can do whatever. But basically you use these two stripes. So you knit a certain number of rows, and then you just switch the colors. So the pattern is the same through the whole scarf. So it's really easy. I did these on 3.5 millimeter 16-inch circulars, and it got me this. It was really like good to knit up. I mean, it was fast and it was easy and it was fun because the color changes. So you could do it with, 10 different colors. Each row could be 2 different colors if you want. If you reverse it, it's the opposite. So it's sort of a gradient. But some people were like, you could do a strand of solid and a strand of like Noro or spin cycle or something like that. You could play around with your stash. You can use your Advent minis. This was maximized for 50-gram balls, but you can hack that to be like 2 stripes of your minis, and that will take care of your minis, and then you can have a really nice, long, cool scarf for your Advents. What I did is I did a provisional cast on with Judy's Magic cast on. I have instructions. You can just do I didn't do a provisional cast on. I just did Judy's Magic cast on. I have provisional cast on instructions. So it has this nice little like roll at the bottom. And then as you go, I like wove my stuff in as I went. It's not very difficult. There were not a bunch of ends, and then I, did X amount of rows. I used my locking stitch markers to count and just kind of moved them up, and then I changed when I needed to change, and then I pretty much used the maximum of these yarns. The colors are going to be listed below. They're numbers, and I do not know the actual color name because I don't even know if they exist with Drops. Maybe they do, but I ordered off a Dutch website, and it has them in Dutch, but on the label they just have a color number. I'm not really quite sure. Anyway, this is the scarf, and I'm really pleased with this. It knit up so fast. I've seen some testers versions, which are really cool. This is a great Advent one. This is a great stash busty one. This is a fun one to play with color. This is a fun one to make a black and white version if you want, just something solid. But I would say that this is like a super easy knit. It's a pretty good stash buster, and it's going to be super impactful. The way that I got to this design was I had a whole process, and you can watch some of my other videos, but there was a barista wearing a shirt somewhat like this, and I tried a variation. I made a sweater, a vest, and I didn't like it, so I tore it out, and then I like played with some samples. So I played with some samples of a couple of different methods. This is the DK version, but with a different stitch pattern, of course. And then by the time I got to this, I ripped out this orange and pink session for like 12 times, but then I finally came to this design, and it was super easy. This yarn sort of chunked up because of my tension. I'm a good knitwear designer. I'm not like a technical knitter, but so it's not ribbed. It's just not laying flat very well. And then I came up with this, and yeah, I mean, I really like it. I hope you guys do too. There will be, I'm sure, a discount code for this for the first week. So if you're watching the video, I'll put it in the description because I haven't gotten that far yet, and we can go from there. So yes, this is the Spectrum Blip scarf, and I really hope you enjoy it because I think it's super fun and super pretty and super cool. You know, I'm going to be honest with you, the stuff I design, this is a small business, right? And the stuff I design, I think this would look great on those like crochet Gen Z girlies, that sort of thing. But I am not. And what I have access to is a couple of friends who actually have time to model, and me and Mr. Does Knitting. And so it's always this, old man modeling these sort of youthful prints and scarves and stuff, and I think it does me a bit of detriment. I think a lot of the more successful designers sort of like design for people that are themselves, and while I do design for myself, I think a lot of people have a hard time imagining my stuff on other body types or gender expressions or what have you. I think it does me a bit of a disservice when I'm advertising this stuff, because some of these like other loops or I don't know, my favorite things knitwear or something, they always like are speaking directly to their target audience, which is people like them. And I am speaking to people like me, but that's not the large amount of people on the knitting sphere in the knitting audience. So I find it difficult because people can't necessarily relate to my content in terms of presentation. And I think that this is one, I think this would be really cool if like somebody else got it that was more youthful and cool, but I mean, I'm not going to sell many patterns as myself. So that is something I need to think about, of like how to do that. I don't really have a lot of options if I'm going to be honest, but that's whatever it is. Anyway, Spectrum Blip scarf release, and that is the first thing. Next, we'll move on to what I'm wearing. So I am wearing the mini season sweater by Ozetta. You cannot see this very well, but this is an all over half fisherman's rib sweater by Ozetta. I did this in Cascade 220 in their black, and it's just like a chunky ribbed sweater. Can you see this collar detail? It is, the sun did not come out today, so I have this big old ring light and I'm trying to blow it out, but this collar looks really nice, and that's mostly why I chose it. I really kind of like hacked the pattern to pieces. So the deal is, this is actually a child sweater. I just knit the largest size. I know I'm a loose gauge when it comes to, well, knitting in general, but especially half fisherman's rib and brioche. I know I'm loose. So it was a 40.5-inch chest circumference for the largest size of the children's one. This is, I haven't measured it, bigger. It's whatever it is. I knitted essentially 2 pattern and then just blocked it. I didn't gauge swatch. and it worked out pretty well. The sleeve cuffs are good. I always knit the sleeve and the body shorter, especially with this stitch, because it's going to grow, and boy did it grow. So the sleeves turned out the length I wanted to. I'm not going to stand up because I'm wearing sweatpants and you really can't see it, but the length of this really grew because the yarn I think is quite heavy, and so it's 4 inches probably longer than I would have normally knit it, and I knit it shorter than I normally did. It grew up way more than I expected. So this might be a bit of a modification. Later on, I have a couple of sweaters I think I'm going to modify this winter, and I'll probably make a video out of it. But I couldn't be happier. It's super warm, super comfy. This is my first time using Cascade 220. I love it. I think it's great. This will not be my last time using Cascade 220. A lot of people have talked about it. It's hard to get here. I live in Amsterdam, so it's really a little difficult. I ordered it off of Lovecrafts, expecting there to be like huge import tax fees, but there was not. So it worked out pretty well. This was designated for another project, which I still intend on making. It's a self-design. There's no way that I could like write up that design. I'd have to chart out the whole thing in all of the sizes, and I'm not doing it. I barely know what I'm doing in general. So that's been on hold, and yeah, I just used the yarn for this. I've been trying to use my stash. I wanted a thick rib, chunky, oversized brioche half fisherman's rib sweater, and so I used it for that. So this is the mini season sweater. Let's get into this whip parade, because I have like a bunch of bags. I have a pile of knits that it's ridiculous over there. I am working on a crochet top for my mother-in-law for Christmas. I would not do this except for the Guernsey that I knit and finished last episode. You can check it out here. It has its own project vlog. Is for my brother-in-law, and I cannot give a full hand knit sweater to my brother-in-law and not give my mother-in-law a garment that she's been requesting for, I don't know, last 9 months or something. So I'm using drops, cotton, merino, and this is their Ecru color. I don't know what color is it. I don't know if it really says. Yarn group B. It's 50% wool, 50% cotton. Color 1. That's it. Anyway, I've worked with this before, like a couple years ago. It's pretty good. I'm assuming it's kind of like a dupe of the Knitting for Olive cotton merino. Not really quite sure. But it's working out well. I'm not an amazing crocheter. I'm a very tight crocheter, so I went up a hook size. I think it calls for a 4mm, and I went to 4.5. But I have made some progress begrudgingly. And this is my Florence Tee. So it's like this granny square-ish, based on squares, like modular knit of a thing. I told you I knit so tight. I did a swatch, and it actually grew to the size it's supposed to be, but this looks very tiny right now, so don't judge. But it's so much work, and I am not a crochet girly. I used to be, but not really, and I've never done a crochet garment. I've never done like a whole modular square thing either. I can see why people get stuck on it, and it's just so many squares. I'm pretty quick at them now, but like it still takes a while, and it's a join as you go, so it's just whatever. I finished the body last week, and then I started the sleeves, which was a pain in the ass. She requested long sleeves. This is a short sleeve. So I need to do this sleeve, which is like half done. It looks pretty mangled. I have this other sleeve to do, and then I have neck and hem and wrist lace. I wanted to get all the squares done first, because I am unclear if I switch to the lace, like a change of pace, that I'd forget how to like do the squares. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna finish the squares, and then we'll get into the lace part. Now, this is supposed to be much bigger than it is, and when I block this, I'm gonna stretch it, and I'm also going to hang it up because I don't think it will dry any other way. But another thing that I did is, this is a size 4 that I'm knitting, which is the second to largest size, so it should be a lot bigger. But the sleeve gave instructions for this cute little like one square sleeve, so it would stop here. And then the way that the sleeve was constructed on the underarm was cute for that, but I tried it on with that construction for myself. And also I was trying to figure out like how I would make this into like a long sleeve, and it just didn't work at all the way that it did. So I'm just I managed to hack it. I sort of like added a square to the sleeve, I guess is how you could say it. So I hacked it after much frustration and ripping out and all this other stuff. And I have a sleeve. So this is the update on that. It's not that exciting, but it's kind of whatever. Of an evening, as I get sick of knitting and stuff, sometimes like around like 9:30, I need to keep my hands busy, but I don't really want to knit anymore, and that's when I weave in my ends for this. So it's pretty good. Obviously, I didn't do any last night. So like there's some sleeve ends that are not woven in, but I've been weaving in the ends roughly as I go. If I have like 6 or more squares that need weaving in, then I'll do it. So this is my Florence Tee. This is probably my first and last crochet garment. I don't know. I guess never say never, but it's not what I want to be. This is why I don't gift knit. This is not really what I want to be working on. It's distracting from other designs and things that I do want to work on. So this was just definitely something for a special person that I will do. And, you know, I've been working on this for a month and a half, and it's whatever. So it's cute. It's fine. It's just not really what I want to be doing. And that is why I have my gift knit tub. If you want to go through me with that, I have a video discussing all of that there. But yeah, I don't usually gift knit. I would have knit a Guernsey anyway. I thought that my brother-in-law was the perfect candidate, and that meant that I had to make this as well. So this is my Florence Tee. What are we doing next? Let's go on to Chaos. This one starts with a little bit of a story. I have been rewatching Project Runway during the day. Their YouTube channel just got put up, and they're doing the seasons from like 20 back. I think they're just posting season 17 right now. But season 18, 19, pre-pandemic season, maybe? I don't know. They had something, and this look went down the runway that was pattern clashing. And it was 2 patterns that were similar that were like pieced together in this dress. I'm not making a dress, but I got inspired by that I wanted to put like 2 patterns together that were similar, that would like butt up against each other and make really cool motif. The ones that she used were almost like a blue gingham-ish color, so just like a blue and a white. And I was thinking for the longest time that I would do one in like a cobalt blue and a light blue, but then I did a swatch in kind of those colors, and I liked the swatch. I had to redo the swatch because it needed some modifications, but I liked it. But then I was thinking, you know what I need? I need these very specific colors to make this design really shine. And you know who had those specific colors was Kaos Yarn. Kaos Yarn is a beautiful yarn brand. They have like really nice quality yarn. They have amazing ethics. They have really great colors. And this was like the only place that I could find these specific colors. So I reached out to them for some yarn support for this pattern. And they said yes, which was really nice. I have no problem really asking for yarn because people can always say no and I'll get whatever. But they were very generous to give me a sweater's quantity worth of yarn, and I chose these 2 colors. So this is really not what I normally pick, but I love it. So this is their Organic Soft Merino. And they have really nice color names. It's 100% organic merino. This is Zealous. And this one is Enigmatic. And this is like a super dark, rich blue, which is fantastic. And this is like this obnoxious Kelly green. They're blowing out a bit because the sun did not come out today. It just didn't. This is that time of year. It's the cloud cover here, and just like there's no sun. So big ring light right in front of me, and that's the only way that I'm illuminated today. I mean, I have a window behind that, but it's really, lighting's tough, right? So I have these two colors. This is my main color, background color, and this is my contrast color. And, you know, once again, about the whole grading sweaters thing, I am hesitant to show my designs until I can get the fire in me to grade. But I think that this is early enough. I think I'll have enough done that by the time that this goes up, hopefully I'll get this to a tech editor. We'll see about life. But this is what I did. I've decided on doing a all over color work, top down raglan. It's pretty simple. Like, the stitch in between is just one knit stitch. So it is a compound raglan, so it would hopefully fit better. And then the short rows are going in the collar. Sorry, this yarn is rolling everywhere. The short rows are going to go into the collar. So it's just really light color work. The beauty of this, much like the Spectrum Blip scarf, is you don't have to catch any floats because the color work is so dense. So the sleeve color work is this. And you can see it's super simple. I mean, you don't really even need a chart for this. I mean, you do need a chart to figure out what it is, but like you can just look at your knitting. It's pretty simple. You know, is this the most original motif? No, 1,000 other designers have done something like that. I did put a blip in right here, so you don't have to catch your yarn and you don't have this weird like one color float that like goes and then you have to like somehow catch your other color yarn. So I do have that little blip in there, and then this is the main body, and this is based off of like an old Russian sweater that I've seen posted on Pinterest like 1,000 times. It's a little different, but it's basically that. And so I thought that having a more like a darker field, so like there's more blue than green in this with a little bit more intricate of a pattern for the body would be nice directly up against a, you know, contrast color heavy, similarly geometric but slightly different pattern for the sleeves. So this is what I have done, and I'm about ready to cast on for the underarm and split for sleeves and stuff. I have so many decreases or increases on this thing. You can see all the shiny ones. I even took these ones off. But like, this is how I count rows and mark my increases. I make an increase and then I put it there. So it is a compound raglan. I'm hoping that makes it fit better. I mean, one pet peeve that I really have is some of these designers and some of these big designers, they make their raglan depth way too deep. And so you see these women who have like, you know, by basically their lower ribs, like where the yoke depth is, and it makes their sweater like ride up, and people don't know to separate for sleeves earlier if they want a better fit. And I just don't like that sometimes, or sometimes like it's down to almost the elbow and then you have to continue knitting. Not a fan of that sort of thing. Like, it's a look, but like not a look that most people want to wear. So compound raglan it is, and we got this. So this is using 2 and a bit balls, and I'm very pleased with this. Hopefully, the plan is I'm going to knit the body for the rest of these balls, and then I'm going to do the collar and a sleeve, and then I'll figure it out and then take it to the tech editor. So can I do that in a week? Maybe. I don't work, so like I have a lot of time. I think that this is possible if I concentrate on this. It's a super easy pattern to do. It's not that complicated. This is a 14 row by 14 row repeat, So, I mean, it's fine. So anyway, this is it. I'm really excited about this design. I love the colors. I love the yarn. I think this is going to be a standout piece for any wardrobe, and I would love to see this in a bunch of different colors. So this design is coming up. The idea would be late December, early January test call, and then I want this up by mid-March, I think, would be probably the latest. So I know it's like a fingering weight all over colorwork sort of thing, but I think that that's what we can do. I'm timing myself on this. This has not been my main whip thus far, so I'm trying to figure out how long it takes me to do it, and then at least doubling the time, and then we can go from there. So this is my sweater, not to be named, yet to be named. It's sort of like problem pattern. I've been calling it my Kaos Sweater, but I really like the color this one. So the name is Enigmatic. I think that might be a good name for this. I don't know. That is a design that hopefully I can share more about with on Instagram and here soon. So that is that. I'm looking around. Let's discuss some Intarsia. This big bag has a ton of yarn for Intarsia in it. I'm not going to go over this so much because this is going to come back later. I'm actually putting this one on hold because I have some other ideas that I can get out. But what I do want to say is that I got some coal and some rust from knitting for Olive, and I'm making an Intarsia pieced sweater out of this. It's going to be beautiful. I think it's so nice. The design I have is based off of a painting I found of an artist that I've purchased from on Instagram, and I want to continue that. This is going to be a mega pattern, which is why I think that this is going to come out maybe next year. So first of all, I have to knit all of the Intarsia, which will take a while. Intarsia is not hard, but it is a little slower. And then secondly, I'm going to also make a plain version of this, which you can hack to be pieced if you want, but it's going to be bottom up in the round. And then, so I'll do the Intarsia version, which is pieced. I will do a plain version, which is pieced. And then I'll also give instructions for a marl one that's pieced. And it will be a little bit of a mega pattern. So that's why it's going to be, I think, put to the side, unfortunately, for now. But this is going to be cool, and more updates on that later. The reason why the Intarsia is going on hold is because I had an epiphany. I have 3.5 plates of this Manchalope Azul. It looks gray, but it's really like a slight blue with like some magenta flecks in it. It's really kind of a cool thing. I've used this before on my Gaka scarf, and I've been trying to think of, I had some designs. I was like hovering around a scarf design, and I just couldn't figure it out, and like the pieces have started to click, and I want to make this. So I think I can do the sweater and then this before end of cold season, and then I'll release the other sweaters and stuff next fall maybe. I'm not really quite sure. But the plan is work on stuff that can make me some money. So there's this. And I was thinking of like a Guernsey pattern for this, but then I went to a woven knitting workshop by Nancy Marchant at Crossen Woods in Den Haag, and she was wonderful. I love Nancy as a person. I think she's phenomenal. I've knit her woven warmth, which maybe picture here, and it is, I just really like her stuff. I think that she's just one of these people that I like, want to be best friends with, and I'm not sure she wants to be best friends with me. But I went to the workshop and we got to pick 4 colors of Pernilla by Phil Kalana, and I chose these 4, which were an Ecru, this cobalt, a green, and then like a lilac, maybe more like a chartreusey thing. And I was just like, look, we're having this yarn given to us. It's really nice yarn, by the way. I would not say it's a DK. I would say that this is maybe sport-ish, but it's a lovely yarn regardless. I think it's 100% Peruvian Highland wool. Anyway, so did I learn anything in this workshop? Not really, but it really like got the creativity going. So one of the things was she gave us bobbins to do the Intarsia with, and I did that. And my Intarsia has changed. So I used to just like cut the strands and pull it, but after a project I did this summer, I really am more organized with my Intarsia, and just having them in like loose balls is really not working for me anymore. So I need some bobbins, which we will discuss later on the channel. I have a shipment coming, all of that. But she has a book called Woven Warmth, and then she also has, you know, some woven warmth patterns or something like that. Anyway, I'll link her stuff below. Go check it out. It's ebooks, whatever. She is phenomenal, and this stuff is really cool. So let me show you what we did in the workshop. I did this swatch was the first one, and you know, just having fun with playing with colors. I think color was really interesting seeing people work, because these were all women who have been knitting for a long time, and it was interesting seeing their tension because we all did the same 2 swatches. And then it was also interesting seeing their color choices and how some struggled with it and how some didn't. Mostly struggle. I mean, they picked yarn that went well together, but they didn't either put it together well, or they really struggled, which I know I have an eye for color, but yeah, it was interesting to see. It's just an observation. I don't know if I could do anything about it. I maybe have some ideas in the background, but yeah, I picked 4 colors that I liked, and that I knew that each color, if I put it next to the other color, would coordinate well. And then for this one, I picked the white as the background because it's more neutral, and I wanted the 3 different colors to shine. And so I did that, and I did them in a random order. So it's not, I didn't do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I just did whatever. So there's that. And then I did this one. This one was a little bit more advanced, and people had a little bit more difficult time to it. This is basically the woven warm shawl, so I was fine with it. But what I did with this in terms of color, which I think is important to talk about, is the ones that I wanted dominant were this pink, because there were 3 stripes. So I put it with it's purple. The purple, and I wanted that dominant because it has 3 stripes. It was 5 by 5 stripes, essentially. So I wanted the purple and the chartreuse dominant, and then the white and the blue to not be so dominant. The blue is going to be dominant because it has just so much color, and it's going to show up. But what I ended up doing, which was smart to make it easy for myself, the women were like buying another ball and doing just like weird color combinations. But I did it so there were like 2 colors per row, and it just alternated, which made things a lot clearer, and I think that it made it for a better way of combining. And you know, they combine in different ways and they overlap, but that was the thought process between how I chose these colors and how it worked. Once again, this is that woven like tabby weave. It's the woven warmth stuff. It's on the Korshfan. It's on the Andrea Gaughan knits. It's all of that. Anyway, so I liked that, but I was thinking, and I was playing around with some other weaves, and this is just scrap yarn that I was doing things with. I'm going to be honest, these were my rejects, but I think I got there at the end. And so what I want to do is like a woven looking 1 color Manchalopi scarf, maybe with it like long enough that you can put over your head and then like wrap around. I'm not really quite sure. I don't want to knit just straight because I think that's boring. And I mean, I think it's quite engaging because of the pattern, but it needs to be a different shape is what I'm trying to say. And I don't know what that shape is yet, but we're close. And I'm going to cast this on soon. I want to finish the Florence Tee and get writing on that Kaos pattern sweater, and we'll get this. So this will also be up for testing in January, although I can't show you it because I don't know what it's going to look like. So that is that. One more and we're done. This next project is just something that I can take with me places, was the idea. I had this idea for a one color brioche scarf in my head, but Jonathan Tollow has already basically made it. His is two colors. But so I just like bought the pattern and redid it. It's the Brioche Adventures, maybe? I'll put the link in the name below to the pattern. It's a beautiful pattern. It's designed for Advents. And it, yeah, I mean, it's just a big brioche scarf, which is exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted something that would be a stash buster, something that I could take with me different places, and something that would take a long time, and it would just be my like mindless knit in the background for when I don't want to think. Because I only have like projects that, with the exception of the crochet, which I don't want to take with me everywhere, these other projects need like a chart or, you know, yarn management and other stuff, and I didn't want to deal with that. I wanted something that I could take with me. So what I did is I wanted to stash bust, and I was going to use these two colors. I want to say this is Kadydid, and this is the Ecru color of Blue Sky Fibers New Base Prairie. It is a like Surrey fingering weight silk. This yarn is phenomenal. It is so nice. I really like it. They sent this to me, if I'm going to be honest with you, but I have, I think like 3.5 balls of each color left, like full skeins, and I wanted to use it in this Brioche Adventure scarf. And what I wanted to do was one side the white and then one side the yellow. And so I started, and I got a little bit into the brioche, and I hated it. I hated it because the brioche stitch with this like sticky yarn was so awful to work. It was just not for me. I think it would have been beautiful. I would love to wrap myself in it, but like it's just like dragging on the needles in a way that I didn't like, and this is supposed to be my mindless stash busty project. So I did this with it, right? Like I didn't even bind off. I just took it off the needles, called it a day, decided I didn't want to work on it. It's whatever. So it's just wrong yarn choice for the stitch. Not, this yarn is phenomenal, and I've used it in other projects. It's really nice. So it's not anything against the yarn. It's just the combination wasn't working for me, which I think is fair and we can recognize. So what I was going to do is this, and then maybe do the Forest Frost shawl, the West Knits hybrid knit along for this year, but do it all in black and do it with some like black mohair, because I think that would look really nice and it's very on brand for me. But the problem is that's more of a thinker project and it takes away from the stuff that I'm doing. But after I abandoned that yarn choice for the thing, I went into my stash and I have this big black, this is nearly full Holst cone. It's the color black in Supersoft. And I love Holst Supersoft. I love black yarn. I was like, I'm going to use this. And I just haven't used it. Like the project has not come up. And so this very large amount of yarn has been sitting in my stash for a while. And I wanted to stash bust this a little bit. So what I did is I converted the pattern to a one color brioche. Sorry, I'm all tangled in my bag. I converted the pattern to a one color brioche, which all I did was essentially every other row of the brioche portion of it. But then I made it as long as the stitch count wanted to do. So it's like X amount of, you know, brioche V's. And so I made it that. And then I went down a needle size because it calls for a 3.5 millimeter needle. And then this stuff is fairly thin. I mean, it plumps up once you block it. But I was not too keen on doing a 3.5 millimeter. I just thought it would be too loose, and I'm a loose briocher, as we've discussed. So you can't, I'm going to do my best to show you this to you, but I've just done like one stripe and I've started a second one. Can you see that? And so, you know, Holst doesn't look that beautiful until it's blocked, but it's gonna look good. Also, the lighting here is terrible, but it's just a brioche stitch, like a garter band for a bit, and then brioche stitch, and then you do this 12 times or whatever until you have your advent calendar used up. I'm gonna go as long as I want it to go. It has a little bit of a slant to it. I don't know if you can see this. Maybe if I hold it up, see it has a slant that's going this way. So I will, I don't know, just knit a black brioche scarf till I'm done with it. And I think that will be good. It will be good use of this because I wanted just like a brioche project that can take forever, mindless. I wanted to use this cone, and I don't mind having a giant black brioche scarf, so that will be good for me. So that is the plan with that, and that is my last whip, and this will be going on all winter because this is like super low priority. This is if I need to go out knitting with someone or something, and if I'm just like overthinking and I just want to move my hands, that's what I have for this. So that is the last one, and this has been a bit of a chatty episode, I will say. So thank you for bearing with me and looking through all my things. I hope I have really new cool designs that I can share with you probably mid-month, but definitely early next year. The tester calls are going to come out, so look out for those two, and then some upcoming shenanigans and whatever I get up to. So that is that. Like I said, life is going to be lifing for me a little bit. So I'm filming this mid-November. I don't know when I'm going to get back on. I'll try to pre-film some content and whatever. So that is happening. There will be a special episode coming up. Anyway, things are not entirely clear, but things are happening. I'm sorry I'm being so vague. I'll get to it later. What I would like to say is, because life is happening for a lot of people right now in a very big way, is I think it's important to... A lot of us are scared and a lot of us are angry one way or another. And one thing in yoga that we talk about is like, don't act out of your fear body, because you always end up getting injured or something like that, especially when you do inversions. It's scary to be upside down, and I'm definitely one of those people that was like, I'm not doing a handstand against a supported wall. Like, absolutely not. Like, it's terrifying. I need to think that my spine's going to collapse and that I'm going to fall through the wall or something like that, and then I'm going to break my toe. That is not the case. That is, if you come up controlled and confidently, it's fine. But when you act out of your fear body, you inevitably get hurt and you get injured, and it's no good. And so what I guess I'm trying to say is that just take a breath and find compassion for yourself and find compassion for other people who may be scared and not acting correctly. That doesn't condone their actions. It doesn't mean that they're right. You know, you got to act right. So you're moving out of intention and clarity and mindfulness. I hate that word in this context, but I think that that's what I want to encourage through everybody is don't act out of fear and anger, but act out of a sense of value and community and self-care, community care. Is what I'm trying to say. Holidays are coming up. It's going to be a busy month. Take care of yourself, and I will talk to you later. Goodbye.